you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what I...
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to review the brand new release. It does come out this week, right?
Yep, it comes out Friday, May 9th.
Yeah. So, well, technically Thursday, May 8th, right? As
I mean, with the
always
preview
happens.
screening taken into consideration, yeah.
So, yeah, we're only a day ahead of everyone else here, but we're here to talk about it. And, you know...
Clown in the Cornfield.
Clown in the Cornfield. Yeah, sorry.
Gimmick upon a gimmick upon a gimmick. You know, when I first heard the title, I was like, wow, okay. Well,
yeah, you know...
We
did a couple of trailer reactions to it. I don't know if you were on one of them or if it was just Robert.
I think it was Robert, yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't that excited. There's been a lot of pretty generic slashers, and worse, I don't like plastic masks for your main killer, i.e. devil masks, like in Hell of a Summer, or plastic clown masks like in here. I just think at this point, I think you got to go harder. You got to try harder to make your slasher interesting to look at. And unfortunately, this was one of the most generic clown characters you could possibly get. And the only reason I started to get excited about this, because I didn't even want to see this. You even were like, hey, I know you said you don't want to see it, but I'm going to see it tomorrow anyway, just so you know, and everything. And I was like, well, if there's a special screening and I can use my A-list, which I'm already paying for, then...
And they added a fourth one now, too. Did you see that craziness? So there's a fourth movie now. They're, like, upping the monthly tick. It's off top, obviously. But, yeah, they're going to give us 4 a week now, which is...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I was already at my limit, so...
well, yeah, so I'll just say that, you know, I had heard recently some buzz saying that it was a lot of fun, you know, it was actually funny. And I saw just today there was an article that was like, oh, yeah, it's got the best twist since Cabin in the Woods. And I was like, oh, damn, you know, I really need to check this out. And so I was like, all right. And so I went and saw it, and, like, fuck those people. Because this was just as generic a slasher as I was worried it was going to be. And it was the twist is something we've seen before, you know, like everything in this movie is something that we've seen before. And it's, I'm so frustrated about that. And people were like talking like, oh, it's so funny. It's so cleverly written. No, I giggled once, and it was at an unexpected line from the clown at one point. And so, yeah.
Cats screaming in the background. So yeah.
Okay. I was like, I wasn't going to spoil anything. But yeah, overall, it was generic on generic, and yeah, there was gore at times, but even that wasn't. And there was like a gag involving gore that I know we've seen before in at least 1 or 2 other movies, and I'm like, this is not unique at all. What is everyone talking about? It's not funny. It's not like the twist is something we've definitely seen before. The characters are not like unique or interesting. I'm sorry, but I was not a fan. Like, it wasn't terrible. And I think, again, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be more successful because the youth is going to see it, and they haven't seen all the horror movies that we have. So they're not going to have...
desensitized at this point, man.
Yeah, it's the same with Hell of a Summer. Like, we didn't like it because it was so derivative, but this younger generation aren't going to realize it's derivative, so they're probably going to like this. But I think it's just derivative drivel.
Yeah, I'm not going to go as far as to say it was like crap in a cornfield, but it wasn't far off in my estimation, man, because...
You and your puns.
I really, really didn't like this movie, dude. And, you know, anytime it veered into things that I found kind of interesting, and without spoiling stuff, like the nature of the love interest of the final girl, some of the town's backstory, things of that nature. It was so skimmed over and didn't really elaborate on it or focus on it properly. And then when I found out this was based on a YA novel, I was like, oh, I would imagine the elements of this that I actually liked that were just grazed over in the movie are probably explored fairly significantly in the book. I'm not going to go to that length, obviously, but
the author is always hawking his books on TikTok. He's up to part
really?
3 now.
One of those. Yeah,
Down in the
this was
Cornfield
published
3
during
is
the
his
pandemic.
most recent. Yeah, he's up to
Yeah.
part 3. Like, it's done that well for him. So,
Well, I
like,
mean, that's why it got optioned. And I mean, not that Eli Craig is like a big time name, but I mean, people enjoyed Tucker versus Dale or excuse me, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He also did I think it was called Little Evil, which was like a comedic riff with Adam Scott on Damien or, the Omen or whatever. And so, yeah, but still, that was back in 2017. This guy hasn't directed a movie since then. So you could tell, I mean, as far as overall thoughts go, that it looked pretty okay. It did not look like bargain basement like we've seen, over the years of the decade plus of you and I doing this together. But yeah, seriously, man, I actually did not like the final girl. I did not like her performance very much. I thought so she's trying to do this like Philadelphia accent, some like gruff and like lower voiced, and yet it was cutting out through various scenes where I'm just like, oh, so she's doing the voice as opposed to like that low pitched gruff, like being her voice.
Yeah.
That's like a little nitpick, obviously. But yeah, man, some of the biggest gags, the funniest stuff, you see it in the trailer, and I didn't think that was funny, like with the phone and whatever. So
the hand.
This didn't bring it, dude. It was I hope it finds its audience because I'm always, man, jeez, I thought I silenced this. I'm always trying to give horror a chance. And I went into this with an open mind. I'm like, okay, it's not going to be
horror a chance.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and yet I know this got greenlit because of Damien and David and Art and all of the success that has seen recently. We know for a fact, from like 99%, that's why this movie got made. So it doesn't bring anything near that level. And dare I say, those aren't even the most clever movies, but they're more creative, significantly. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about overall thoughts, at least.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll dive into it, and honestly, I just don't want to spend that much time on this.
I don't either, dude. Yeah.
So yeah, briefly,
I don't.
The story is this our lead, our final girl, our main actress, and her dad move into this new town because they've just gone through a tragedy, and he is relocating and taking over a new doctor position in a small town, right? We've seen this in numerous other movies. Doc Hollywood, amongst, that's the first that comes to my mind.
Michael J. Fox,
yeah,
all right.
Love that one. But Jesus Christ, what's going on over there? But yeah, so they move into this town, and she immediately befriends the bad group of kids, which are just normal kids that kind of they're just into horror movies, like, and they're the bad group.
Which was another thing that, it was a little wrinkle I thought was kind of cool, and yet they didn't really explore it that much. The first time they showed it, and she's watching on the phone and everything, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Maybe this movie could pull an Until Dawn. No, it definitely did.
It was just used for the first fake out, and that was it. But,
yeah.
But nonetheless, so they make movies about this town mascot clown that was the mascot of a brand that originated in this town, and they make movies like, what if the clown was a murderer, was a serial killer, and so those are the movies that they make, and then suddenly, during a town's annual celebration, which isn't Founders Day the same thing from Thanksgiving? Isn't that what they called that in Thanksgiving?
Yeah, same thing, dude. I was getting Thanksgiving vibes hardcore. Aside from the fact that it's a little more amusing with the guy on the little unicycle and everything. That bit was funny.
But even the parade scene, very reminiscent. Yeah, I hadn't even put that together. But anyway, so suddenly they start dealing with a actual murderous clown. And then that plays out, and it's just, again, it's nothing we haven't seen. There is a twist at the beginning of the third act that just wasn't interesting. I was like, oh, it's that? Okay, yeah, we've seen that numerous times, okay. As a matter of fact, I just read a comic series that just finished its 4th issue. The first volume was this same sort of fucking story. It's like, it's such a well-tread, story at this point. It's just not that interesting. But yeah, so she and others and her dad need to try and survive the attack from this killer clown. And it played out so derivatively and frankly boringly to me. Like, none of the characters maintained my interest. No one was funny enough to be like, oh, I at least like that character. Like, it just it was so it plateaued at a C, and it never went above that. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, I do, man. And it definitely felt victim in my estimation of where it was like, okay, we're trying to be edgier than some of the other fare that's out there right now, that is geared at this particular audience and everything. And I don't know. I don't want to be old man yelling at cloud, but it feels more and more so as we get further into this, lengthy amount of time of reviewing horror movies and seeing the same things just recycled over and over and over, especially with this particular trope. I know the clown thing has always been scary all the way back to, Pennywise and all the stuff with my dude El Rey. But this didn't bring enough new to the table. Even like the bitchy girls weren't bitchy enough. The fact that they kind of, brought her into the fold, I was like, okay, that's kind of a different little twist. But then nothing interesting was done with them. Once again, the humor, all of the most amusing bits, and I don't even know if I would call them amusing. They only got a moderate chuckle from the early audience because because AMC did an early screening of this, early access as they like to call it. And so the people who were there for this one, I would imagine, were the ones who were the most interested in it. And even those in the theater were not really laughing too, excessively or anything. No. So I don't think a lot of the humor hit particularly well. It definitely didn't for me. Once again, back to the last bit of writing that I found interesting was the things that I would imagine were explored significantly more in the book, the history of the town and, things of that nature. Performance-wise, I guess, don't really have a lot of generous things to say about the lead. It was nice to see Will Sasso in there. Nice to see Kevin Durant.
But I'm so familiar with Will Sasso and his voice that he was just doing a voice the whole time, and I'm like,
I just always remember him from Mad TV is where I always reach back for him.
See, so, I'm very familiar from his podcast stuff. In particular, he did a podcast called the 10-Minute Podcast. He did that with Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia, both of which are not very popular dudes anymore. So,
D'Elia, you and I saw live. I remember.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but anyway.
Yeah, man. I mean, everybody is serviceable enough, but definitely not really bringing it. And they give some earnest moments to this lead girl. And I know I was kind of crapping on her accent or lack thereof that she's trying to do in this movie, but I just didn't really empathize with her as much. And I think with something that happens at a reveal later in the movie with regards to the guy that she's going for, I think maybe you're supposed to feel for her a little bit more. They didn't really play that up much. I felt like it was more of a shift, which is fine because it was kind of a nice little wrinkle, but and they didn't even develop that very much. So and then at the very end, without spoiling anything, it's just like, oh, it's all anyway.
Yeah. It was very surface level. Everything was very, very surface level.
Yeah,
it was, I will say, it was very telegraphed for the entire movie, and yet somehow there's a reconciliation towards the end of the movie that got cheers in my theater. That I was like, oh, geez, okay, all right, that wasn't done that well, guys, but hey, good on you.
Was it related to the type of vehicle I drive?
No, it was...
Which is an ongoing joke in the movie for whatever reason.
It was related to why one of the dudes was...
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, acting-wise, I agree. I don't think there was anyone really to write home about at all. Will Sasso was funny, but I know that he was doing a voice the entire time. And there was really no one else that the kids were just standard. The two girls in the group, besides the lead, I think were even more annoying than I didn't have a problem with the lead that you did. I had a much more of a problem with the generic ass friend group that she got into. So anyway, acting, nothing to write home about. Filmmaking wise, it was fine.
It wasn't super low budget looking, at least. I mean, you can tell there's a moderate amount associated with it. But
I mean, the production design's not that interesting. It's nothing we haven't seen before in any number of Cornfield centric movies. Honestly, I think one that did it the best is that fucking Stephen King movie that came straight to Netflix a couple of years back.
The one that he co-wrote with Joe.
Whatever that one was. I thought that was a good Corn movie, but it's the production design is just not that interesting. The design of the clown is not interesting. It's just so generic the whole way through in so many ways, and even the gore. The gore is nothing we haven't seen before in so many different movies. Like those specific,
nothing Terrifier level. That's
no, but even the specific gags we see in this movie have been done before.
Yeah, and done to death, no pun intended.
So I mean,
I did laugh where there was one bit with a pitchfork and a character, and then it happens to another character, and they're right beside each other. After
that's the one line.
A little bit of dialogue,
There's
like
one
that.
Line that I laughed. That's the one.
One of the only chuckles I had, man, in the whole movie.
That was the one that I laughed at too.
Yeah.
But that was the only time. Like I noted. Like, and that happens like 45, 50 minutes into the movie, or even a little bit more than an hour.
Oh, it was later than that. Yeah, it was like the third act.
And so that's the first time I kind of chuckled. That's not good. You know what I mean? That's a long time to wait for a laugh.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the gore was all right. I mean, there is one scene that was moderately gnarly and also a little bit funny where a character's getting patched up, their arm has been blasted by a shotgun, and the dynamic, that's going on there.
I know. That got kind of amusing. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, I need the saline and all that. It was funny. But
the whole I told you was funny of it all. But yeah, like it's just not.
I'm grasping at straws, man.
Yeah, you are. But it's okay. Like I get it. More power to the independent writer that managed to get this to the big screen. That's no small feat, and the material just it didn't jive with me. But that's not to say it's not going to jive with anyone.
Adam Cesare, Cesare. I'm totally butchering his name probably, but yeah, Adam Cesare.
Or Caesar, maybe. Who knows?
Caesar. Well, it's spelled C-E.
I understand. I'm just saying, who knows?
Well, Adam, and the fact that he was able to get this, directed by Eli Craig, and somebody who had a little bit of esteem. I mean, Little Evil was on Netflix. Tucker and Dale versus Evil was very well regarded, and also in theaters, Alan Tudyk and everything. So, I mean. No, this just to backtrack though. It's not utter crap. It just felt a little more by the numbers, and that perhaps we're a little bit jaded at this point, and it takes something really revolutionary to perk our interest proper.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is unfortunately the case, and there's medical helicopters by me now too. So delightful.
Yeah, we might as well call it there. I mean, that's as much as I need to say about it. But look, guys, here's the situation. We didn't like it, but it seems like we're kind of in the minority. Although I did see Jason Smith, Sinister Cinema, say he wasn't the biggest fan either. He's like, I read the book. I wasn't the biggest fan of the book, and so I wasn't.
Oh, he read the book.
Yeah,
wow.
He's like, I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie either. But conversely, I saw 3C Films said it was his jam. I saw Cody post a positive review about it.
I did too. Yeah,
I think Lee enjoyed it too, but I could be mistaken on that. But
it's Meg from Bloody Disgusting. I was just kind of surprised where I see Haunted Meg from Bloody, and she is giving this movie its flowers, and then she hated so hard on Until Dawn. I would imagine she played the video.
Ridiculous.
Because this may come off as blasphemous.
Until Dawn's way better than this.
I enjoyed Until Dawn way more than this.
Until Dawn is way better than this. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I just had to say that. So.
No, I agree with you. There's way more redeeming moments in Until Dawn than there is in this movie. Like, there were some moments in Until Dawn where I was legitimately like, oh, that's cool. And legitimately where I was like, oh, that's awesome. None of that in this. None of that. Not a single bit of it in this movie.
Oh,
so,
nuts, man. Yeah.
but yeah, you know, guys, we don't want to be haters, but we got to be honest. So, you know, again, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias up in Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.
Stay scared.